remain on the line.
Good afternoon. It's indeed a privilege to present before you, a webinar on a new process of conduction, assessment, and evaluation of technical seminars. I thank each one of you who has set aside your time to listen to this webinar, and I thank the organizers for providing me this opportunity. So the outline of my webinar would be like this. Why technical seminars and what do they forward? The process followed hitherto and the impact, the course outcomes defined, the 9 steps in the new process, the sample recordings of student introductions, videos played and points conveyed during the technical seminars, marks allocation and scheme of evaluation, student performance, course outcome, PO, program outcome attainment, reflection. So this would be the outline of my seminar. Why technical seminars? So as we all know that the whole focus of engineering education is on developing engineers who are globally competent. And in that context, engineering graduates should be abreast of the latest technologies. Engineering graduates should not only be good at building and arriving at engineering solutions, but they must also be capable of communicating effectively to a diverse audience. So in that context, technical seminars are very, very important. And the attributes that are forwarded generally through these seminars is the ability to engage the audience, to present the ideas with clarity, be receptive to critical observations from the audience, reflect and refine from the response that they obtain in their seminars from the audience. So the process hitherto followed in BMS College of Engineering and the impact is what I have presented in front of you. So the process generally that has been followed is the students choose a topic, they report to a particular teacher who would approve of the topic and who would make sure that the topic is under the purview of being considered as a technical seminar topic. And then the student would present the seminar for internal evaluation straight away. And during the internal evaluation, there would be teachers who would be, assessing the presentation. They would give feedback. And based on the feedback, the students would modify the seminar and then present it for the final evaluation. Now, the impact of this particular method has been the students have no clarity, the students do not follow a defined structure, and the outcomes that are there out of these seminars are not measured. So the course outcomes that have been defined for this technical seminar is that at the end of the course, every student will be able to research literature and comprehend the trends in engineering solutions. Course outcome 2, they would be able to bring forth their individuality, their distinct capabilities. Course outcome 3, they would be able to communicate effectively to a diverse audience. So these are the 3 course outcomes that I have defined as a course instructor from the technical seminar. Now the 9 steps that I have defined in the new process is, first of all, is the self-introduction. So in the self-introduction, the students are given an opportunity to talk about themselves to the whole class. And the videos of the students introducing themselves to the whole class is captured. And the course instructor sits along with the student watching his videos, because the videos are replayed. And the student is shown how he or she has introduced herself to the class. So now there are a lot of aspects in self-introduction when a student is presenting, which I will place before you in due course as I pass through the slides. So the second step is briefing on topic selection. So this job is done by the course instructor. So I, as a course instructor, gave a briefing on how he or she has to select a topic. So one condition that was laid was the topic should not be based on their project work that they have done, or it should not be in common. Now, the topic could be something which should be under the purview of engineering and which should be their area of interest, or a topic which they're very passionate about, or something which is the new trend or the new focus in engineering right now. So once they are briefed on the topic selection, they were, given exercises on how they could be with the audience. So it was found during the self-introduction that the students conducted in the class that the students were not comfortable on being with the audience. So there were certain exercises conducted in the classroom on each and every student so that they get freed up in the process of being with the audience, which is very, very important in a presentation. Then the next step that I took on was to play popular videos. So these videos were nothing but, these videos are available on YouTube, and they were some of the videos that I shortlisted, which I'll be showing in due course, is on how to make effective presentations. I also played popular videos of Steve Jobs, who is one of the world's most famous and well-known presenter. And the students, there was a discussion between the course instructor and the students, and it was an interactive session that we had, where I highlighted on why the presentation of Steve Jobs is very, very effective. Now, what is that he brought forth in the presentation such that the audience were engaged? And how was the whole presentation structured? So these points were highlighted by the course instructor by playing these videos in the class to the students. The students were given tips on how to keep the audience engaged. Now, this was a fallout of the videos that were played, where, how if it is only text, then the whole presentation becomes quite monotonous, and I told the students that you would lose the audience. So what I told them was not to clutter the slides, to keep the slides clutter-free, to include visuals, to include videos wherever necessary, to include demos. So what happened as a result was the students started timing the slides, and they made sure that no slide is presented or kept, in existence for more than 5 minutes. Rehearsals. So after all these tips were given, the students were given an opportunity to rehearse. So in the process, what happened was the students had already identified the topics. The other students knew the topics that these students had identified. They had a kind of a structure for their presentations. They were not given a chance to present the whole presentation, but about 5 to 10 minutes time to present short presentations, rehearsals. So during this rehearsal, the advantage of these rehearsals presentations that were made. And we had brainstorming sessions where we noted down what was missing in the presentation, what was missing in the topic, why this topic should not be chosen, and what are the things that he can include. And the students also came out with suggestions like, you have been speaking for a long time and you would lose the audience, and then there's so much clutter on the slide. So all the tips that they learned, they pointed it out to the students during the rehearsal sessions and the brainstorming sessions. Then we had seminar evaluations for continuous internal assessment or evaluation, where we had 2 teachers. One is the course instructor maybe, or in some cases there were 2 teachers who were not even concerned with the seminar, who sat through the seminar evaluations. So after the rehearsals and after the brainstorming sessions, the students had made a proper presentation of 15 minutes, followed with 5 minutes of question answer sessions. Now these sessions were evaluated by internal teachers. And then we had the final seminar where we had 1 internal teacher and 1 teacher from another college who was called in to evaluate the performance of the students in the technical seminars. So these were the 9 steps that were followed in the technical seminar. So here I would like to play a video. This is one student. I just want to highlight a particular point, and that is why I'm playing this video.
Everyone, I'm Priyanka. I'm born and brought up in Bangalore. My parents are from India, and I did my schooling at Rishikesh Vidyapita, which is in Bangalore, and
So here, what I'd like to point out is the student's body language. So I captured a video and I talked to the student on a one-on-one. The body language of the student was brought to her notice, and also I brought to the notice of the student that she's not being with the audience. So whatever she's speaking, she's not speaking it out to the audience. She's speaking it to herself. So she is trying to recollect and then speak. And I said that if you do that, you'd lose the audience. So she was trained. She was trained on how she could be with the audience in the subsequent sessions. So the next video, I would like to play this to point out another point that I brought into existence to these students.
Hello everyone. As you know, my name is Rajkot. I completed my 10th from Food and Education and my 12th from Currently I'm doing my electrical engineering here.
So here, you see that the student is gripped with fear of being on stage. So he has to pause during a technical presentation where, the easiest thing that anybody can do is talk about yourself. So in self-introduction itself, the student is gripped with fear and he has paused. So this was pointed out to him, and how this can be overcome, you will see in the subsequent recordings. So the next is another set of, another type of student.
Hello audience, good afternoon. I'm Sujay Sharma. Who am I? Well, I take about more than 15 minutes to say that, but I don't have so much time. So what I like attending class.
So here, what I wanted to bring forth was that there are another set of students who are over-enthusiastic, and the body language and the way they move around, this actually caused a lot of laughter in the audience. So I wanted to bring forth the point that you can't be this way when you're presenting a technical seminar. So that is why I took a recording of this so that I can highlight that. So the students go through different experiences as they come forward and present themselves, about themselves to the audience. And the freeing up exercise, freeing up the students from stage fear is the next video. So I'd be just, it's a lot of fun, so I'd just be playing it to you for a little longer time. Now, the girl that you see in the picture is a student who was totally scared to come on stage. She refused to talk into the mic. She refused to. So what I brought in was a kind of an activity where, the students can put forward any kind of performance before the whole class. So this was an opportunity provided to the students to overcome their embarrassment of enacting themselves in front of an audience. So this student refused to, open up. And then she had to be coaxed by her friend. And finally, towards the end of the video, you will see how well she performed. So this is a video clipping. Student who was totally, within her own shell, she experienced freedom, and that was the turning point for her. So never again, whenever she would come on stage to present the seminar, so now people would wonder what is the connection between this and the technical seminar. So there's a lot of connection between the two, and that is what I want to bring forth in this webinar, is that a person needs to be completely free with the audience if he or she has to deliver a presentation. And this could be, what could be inhibiting her could be her past experiences, her, something that has happened in the past that has stopped her or him coming on stage and talking. Now, a course instructor can facilitate through these exercises, you providing a safe space for the presenter to present his or her seminar. So this is very, very important. So if this can be done in institutions, this would leave an impact on the student, that the stage is not a place where one needs to experience fear, or one needs to be scared of. So the next slide that I'd like to show you was the videos that I played in the class on how to do a presentation, how to speak so that people listen to you, how to present like Steve Jobs, the importance of body language in presentation. And the points that were conveyed was, it's very, very important to set the theme to captivate the audience. So before you start the seminar, I told the students to introduce themselves and then also share why they're presenting this particular topic. How did they start their interest? Or, something which was very, very authentic for them. So I said that it is only authenticity that would help you capture the audience. So you need to set a theme and then provide the outline of the entire seminar so that the audience is prepared to listen through whatever you are presenting. So if they don't have an outline, they're not even aware of what you're going to talk about, and then it's going to be difficult for the audience to stay focused. So be passionate about the topic. So whatever topic you're presenting, make sure that you're very passionate about it. Then make statistics, numbers meaningful and not abstract to the audience. So talk in very, very simple terms so that the audience can understand what you're talking about. Do not make it too abstract. Provide visuals, demos wherever you can. Don't clutter it with only text matter. And then rehearse, rehearse, and rehearse. So for rehearsal, I had asked them, I had also asked them to rehearse about the self-introductions. So the rehearsal structure that I brought out for them to rehearse on the self-introduction was, I asked them to look at themselves in the mirror exercise. They look at themselves in the mirror and then keep introducing themselves in the mirror till they feel confident that they're talking rightly to the person inside the mirror. So many of them were asked to do that before they come and introduce themselves. And that has worked for many of the students. The other rehearsal that I brought in was, rehearsing in front of groups. So they had each person had a group that he belonged to, and he would present his topic or whatever in that particular group. And then, that group would give him critical feedback, and he would get a lot of points or tips from that, and then he would come to present before the whole class. So rehearse, rehearse, and rehearse is the mantra that I gave them to practice before they make their final presentations. So this was a video on one rehearsal of the short presentation.
Good afternoon. My topic for the seminar is on high-wire technology. Now, this is something I'd like to give a little bit of background for. It's related to cars. Cars are basically
opportunities that was provided for the student, not only to rehearse in their groups, but also to rehearse in the class. And when they're rehearsing in the class, the course instructor and the remaining students are looking at the videos that they present or the whole presentation that they present. And at the end of the session, they give them critical views, critical feedback. So the next slide is, I would like to talk about the marks allocation. Now this marks allocation was done in alignment or in concurrence with the students. So I just took this up in one of the classes and discussed this. See, this is how the marks is going to be allotted, and took their alignment. So the total marks allotted for the seminar is 100. The continuous internal assessment marks is 50. The final semester end seminar marks is 50. So I said that your seminar topic should not be, as I already told you, it should not be the same as the project topic. And I defined the components of CIE and took concurrence for the students on that. Attendance would be given 5 marks. So I said if you have attendance between 75% to 85%, you get 5 marks. 65 to 75%, you get 4 marks. 55 to 65%, you get 3 marks. 45 to 55%, you get 2 marks. And if you have less than 45% attendance, then you don't get any mark for your technical seminars. So in spite of all this, people used to come to the classes because they were so interested in the critical feedback. Every presenter used to get critical feedback, and that was very important, and that was useful to them to improve their presentations. So people used to come to the classes, though not 100%, but fairly a large number of people used to turn up for the classes. Report, they would write a small report on the seminar topic and give it to me, and that would be awarded 5 marks. The preliminary seminars would be, the preliminary seminars are the seminars that are assessed by the course instructor and the students of the class. Okay, so those seminars were assessed for 15 marks, and the final seminar, which was assessed by the internal teachers, that was 25 marks. So the total internal assessment was for 50 marks. Now, when this total internal assessment was done, the students were, based on their performance, they were divided into different categories. Excellent was the set of students who got greater than 85%. Between 70 to 85% were categorized as very good. Greater than 50 and between 70 was categorized as good. And anything greater than 40 was categorized as fair. So this was how the internal assessment marks were categorized. And then the scheme of evaluation. Now this was also given to the students, though not in the beginning. It was given to the students, so the students could generally, assess themselves based on what was given to them in the class. Originality. So some of the attributes that were considered was originality, level of understanding, presentation, communication, and time management. So under originality, the qualities that I said that I would look for was analysis. If you have done analysis on the topic that you are presenting, a complete study, a complete simulation. So if you have done simulation, if you have done survey, enough survey, and then comparison, or you have brought in some statistics on the performance in that particular topic, then if you have done all of these, or at least 2 of these, then, and if your quality is good, then you would land up with 5 marks. And if you have done any 2 of this, and if your quality is moderate, you would get very good. If you have just done 1 of this, then you would get good. And if you have not done any of this, and if you're just presenting the topic, then you would not get any mark. Level of understanding. So how the student would be gauged would be based on his response to questions that are posed by the audience in the preliminary sessions. And I told them that even in the final seminar, which is assessed by the teachers, the internal teachers, as well as the external examiners, it would be based on the response to questions, the clarity of thought that you have while you're presenting the whole seminar. Presentation. So the qualities that one would look for is creativity in the slides, how the slides are structured, and how the entire flow of the presents. For this, I had given them some tips. You could start with past, what's happened in the past, the present, and the future. So you could have some kind of a theme for your presentation and stick to that theme. Mention about that theme in the beginning and then stick to that theme. So if you are able to follow that structure, and if you have creativity, both of them, then you get 5 marks. If it's moderate, you get 4 marks. If you get any one of them, you get 3 marks. And if you have none of them, then you don't get any marks. Communication. So under communication, you have voice modulation, freedom with speech, and body language. So if you have all the 3, again, you would get 5 marks. 2 of the 3, then you get 4 marks, 3 marks, and 2 marks. And time management. So I said it's very important that you stick to time. So 15 minutes. So the students used to time their slides. Stick to that. So if you are able to finish your presentation on the dot, you get 5 marks. And within 2 minutes, and you have skipped some slides, you get 4 marks. You've got a moderate amount of slides to skip, and you have finished, let's say, 3 minutes or greater, then you get 3 marks. And more than 4 minutes, you've got a lot of slides to skip, you have not been able to maintain your time, then you get 2 marks. Or if you have most of it left, then you get 0 marks. So they were kind of evaluated for time management also. So the graduate attributes that were measured in the technical seminar was their ability to engage in independent learning, analyze and interpret data, select and apply modern engineering tools, and communicate effectively. So these were the 4 attributes that were measured. So the rubrics that was used to go ahead with the assessment was this. So if you look at individual contribution, so if you look at the attributes that were used for assessment, it was for individual contribution, it was literature survey, simulation results, any other survey comparisons done for the chosen topic. So these were the indicators for individual contribution. And you had descriptors and scales. So the scales chosen were 5, 4, 3, 2. And each scale, each number 5 had a descriptor. So if he has done 2 out of 3 with high quality, then he gets a 5. If he has completed, if he has completed 2 out of 3 with moderate quality, then he would get a 4. If he has completed 1 out of 3 with moderate quality, he would get a 3. Has completed none but presented only the topic, then he would get 2. Similarly, for level of understanding, that was the next attribute. So I had put indicators. So the indicators to this would be response to questions, clarity of thought while presenting. So if he answers most questions and presents with clarity, then he would get a 5. Answers a few questions and presents with moderate clarity, a 4. Presents with moderate clarity but does not answer questions, it would be 3. And if doesn't do either, then he would get a 2. Presentation. So for presentation, the indicators were creativity in the use of slides, has organized the presentation in a logical sequence, has delivered the content in a structured sequence. So again, for that, there were indicators. Communication. So for communication, you had voice modulation. If he modulates the voice, speaks freely, and has good body language, all the 3, then he would get a 5. So he modulates the voice, speaks moderately, fair body language, he would get a 4. So these were all the descriptors that were used so that, you know, anybody who's giving him marks is very clear why he has got those marks. Time management, 15 minutes of PPT plus 5 minutes of question and answer session. So again, for time management, there were descriptors based on each scale. So if he finishes on the dot, he gets a 5. If he has to hurry through a few slides, takes a minute or 2 to complete the presentation, he would get a 4. And he has to skip a couple of slides, he's got more than 3 minutes to complete the presentations, he would get a 3. More than 4 minutes and has got quite a lot of slides to be skipped, then he would get a 2. So this were the rubrics that were used to assess the graduate attributes. So the next thing that I went on doing is the mapping of course outcomes and program outcomes. So the course outcomes that were defined in the first few slides were research literature and comprehend engineering solutions. That was the first course outcome. The second course outcome was bringing forth individuality or their distinct features, you know, whatever each one is capable of. Communicate effectively. So I had indicators for them based on the rubrics. So from what they have got from literature survey comparisons and analysis, they would be grouped under, they were the sub indicators for course outcome 1. And how I have mapped it to program outcomes is program outcome 4 is the ability to analyze and interpret data. So these 2 would contribute to program outcome 4. So I have mapped this. These 2 would also contribute to program outcome 12, which is the ability to recognize the need to engage in independent learning in the context of technological change. So these 2 things also indicate his ability to engage in independent learning. So I mapped it to program outcome 12. Next, course outcome 2, bring forth individuality. You know, each person would have their own ways of analyzing the topic. So some of them would have included simulation studies. So if a student has included simulation studies, then you know, it enhances his ability to select and apply modern engineering tools, which comes under program outcome 5. So I ticked for that. And also these 2 also, you know, contribute to his ability to engage in independent learning. So level of understanding of the topic, that was one of the rubrics that was there. So that was mapped to PO12. Simulation studies was mapped to PO5 and PO12. Communicate effectively, time management, presentation, communication, these were all, assessed for, and they were mapped to program outcome 10, which is the ability of a student to communicate effectively. Now from all this, the rows would give you the CO attainment and the columns would give you the PO attainment. So now based on the CIE marks, so the CIE marks was for 50 and the CIE marks was segregated. The students had obtained CIE marks and those marks were segregated into categories of excellent, very good, good, fair. So based on the marks that they have obtained, and I had mentioned in the previous slide what is the range. So based on that, the number of students who got excellent for CO1 was 16, CO2 was also 16, CO3 was 14. Similarly, very good was 12, 35 and 17, 37, 22 and 32. So these were the number of people who got marks that fell into these categories of excellent, very good, good, fair. So the attainment was calculated based on the weights that were given. So there are 16 students. For example, this is for course outcome attainment, course outcome 1 attainment. So 16 students got excellent. So multiplied it by the weight 15. 12 students got very good, multiplied it by the weight 4. 37 students got good, multiplied it by the weight 3. And 8 students got fair, multiplied it by the weight 2, divided by the total number of students, 73. So the rating was 3.49. The maximum rating that anyone can get is 5. So the percentage attainment for course outcome 1 was 69.8. So similar attainments were found out for course outcome 2 and course outcome 3. And the POs to which these were mapped. So in the previous slide, I had told you that course outcome 1 maps to PO4 and PO12. Course outcome 2 maps to PO5 and PO12. Course outcome 3 maps to only PO10. So the PO mapping was taken, and then in this part of the slide, you find that how I have included the attainments here. So course outcome 1 is an attainment of 69.8. I have not found out the contributions of course outcome 1 to PO4 and PO12. I have assumed equal contributions of course outcome 1 attainment to PO4 and PO12, and I have included them here. Similarly, CO2 76.8 to PO5 and PO12, and CO3 contribution is 73% to PO10. So finally, when I add up the columns, I get the PO attainment, PO4, PO5 attainment, PO10 attainment, and PO12 attainment. And the rows of this would give me course outcome 1 attainment, course outcome 2 attainment, and course outcome 3. So what I find is that the target that I had set for the class was 80%, and it was nowhere close to the target. So that was what I observed. Now, another comparison that I did was a comparison of CIE marks distribution over 2 years. So 2014, where we didn't have this kind of a structure, 2015, where we kind of brought in a structure of this 9 steps. So when you look at this particular graph, you see that the distribution of CIE marks was only in this particular zone. Whereas when we brought in a structure like this, we could even bring in a tighter evaluation of continuous internal evaluation. And we had students falling in this particular category, getting marks between 50 and 60%. So what I would say, in my opinion, I may be wrong, in my opinion is that this kind of an evaluation system actually brings in a lot of categories in which you can classify these students. And once you present this to the students, then the students have so much scope to improve before the semester end exam. That's exactly what happened after the technical seminar. So after the CIE marks were announced and the students found that they were in these categories, they worked hard. And the final semester end exam grades when compared for 2014 and 2015. 2014 we did not have a structure. 2015 you find that there's something called S grade, A grade, and B grade, C grades that are followed in BMS College. So S grade is generally given to students who have got greater than 90, between 90 and 100. And A grade is given to students between 80 and 90, and B grade between 70 and 80. So what we find here is that in 2014, there were fewer students who were in this category, and more number of students in the A grade category. And the B grade was very less, but most of the students from A grade have gone into S grade, and there's also an improvement in the students in attaining their grades, in improving their grades, even in the B grade category. So overall, we find that grade-wise, their performance shows, the statistics show that the performance has improved. So the reflections that I have at the end of the technical seminar is what worked for me and what did not work for me. So what worked for me is that I got a tremendous opportunity to interact with every individual, to rehearse, and also give him an opportunity to rehearse and obtain critical feedback in the preliminary sessions. And the feedback that I got, usually I felt that I am the boss of the class, but I saw that the feedback that I got from the peers, the fellow students, were very, 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 very important and very, very interesting. And that forwarded a lot for the presenters. And rubrics was brought in place, which did not exist in the earlier years. Fun was brought into the class. The students look forward to. Not all students participated in this fun activity. I did not impose this on all the students. It was quite optional to the students. This increased the levels of confidence in the students. And it also improved the overall semester grades in the semester end examinations. And there were a lot of, the external examiner noted that most of the presentations were very well presented. The students learned ways to make very creative, effective presentations, and this and the experience that they had. They were criticized so much during the class presentations, during the rehearsals, that they were kind of, they were kind of used to take critical comments. They were not perturbed by criticism. So that is an experience that I feel would stick with them. And that's something like a lifelong experience that they have had from the technical seminar sessions. Of course, the course instructor need to moderate the sessions, because otherwise, it would be based on prejudice. One student doesn't like another student would give nasty comments and things like that. So I had asked them to stick to what was missing in the presentations and not on personal observations. Personal observations about the presentations, I would give them myself individually to the students, and I wouldn't allow the class to do that. So what did not work for me was I was over enthusiastic, and I spent more time in the initial classes, and towards the end, it was overwhelming. With a huge class of 70+ students, it was the load was overwhelming. I did not plan or schedule the preliminary seminars with buffer for exigencies, and towards the end, I fell sick, and I had to really work hard to cope up with these schedules. I could not honor my word, and that is something that I observed. Rubric was not developed in the beginning. I developed the rubric somewhere midway in the semester, and I gave it to the students. So, I believe if this was done in the beginning, the students would have been more focused, especially for the grades, because most of them look at the grades. So the evaluation and the attribute rubrics was not given to them earlier. Then the seminar topics that they presented were not subjected to plagiarism checks. So at present, I have no idea whether they have downloaded some things, although their contributions could have been the comparative surveys and things like that. But I can't 100% vouch for the authenticity of the seminar topics, because I did not do a plagiarism check myself. Then I did not include peer review in the assessment, which I believe is very, very important. But I don't know, I have no idea how I need to bring it in or how it would work in a setup that we have at BMS College of Engineering. And another very important skepticism that I have about this peer review is that you scratch my back and I scratch your back. And this kind of attitude that normally prevails among students. You give me 5 and I'll give you 5 for yours. So I'm not very clear that peer review would be authentic, and I need more advice and more exposure to how I can bring in systems in place to include peer review in the whole seminar assessment. So I think these are the reflections, and based on these reflections, I'm ready to go in for an entirely new way of implementing and bringing in technical seminars during the next semester. So this is what I have to present. Thank you very much for listening to me and setting aside your time. Thank you. So if there are any questions, I can take up the questions. Please feel free to ask them.
Won't rehearsing make the talk less spontaneous, lacking in honesty?
Rehearsals were mainly for feedback. Rehearsals was conducted, I don't know what rehearsal you are referring to. One rehearsal we had where spontaneity comes up through practice. So what I feel is, the students had ample opportunity to rehearse and take feedback. So the most important catch in rehearsals was the feedback, the critical feedback that they got from the audience. And the audience is missing in the final seminar. So these rehearsals helped them in fine-tuning their presentations and the topics and the way they did it. So when I took a survey on the students, they said that they have benefited a lot from the rehearsals, mainly because of the critical feedback.
A suggestion: peer review can be done by students of other branches.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, so I need to evolve a structure where I can include students of other branches. Thank you very much for the suggestion.
We'll give the audience 1 or 2 minutes more to enter any questions they may have.
Last line that I can say.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah, so the punchline of the entire presentation is what I feel is a constructive involvement of the course instructor do help in improving the quality of technical seminars. And technical seminars, if you look at our students, many of them go abroad. And in countries like Germany, what I understand from the feedback that I get from my students is that they look at, they don't look at their writing skills, but they look at the presentation skills, how they're able to communicate. So even a product which a PhD student has to interact and speak about with an examiner is, most of the exams in Germany are oral. And communication is very, very important because they must be able to communicate or articulate their ideas very, very crisply and to the point. And I believe that technical seminars can be really, really improved upon by the constructive involvement of the course instructor in these seminars. And this is something which one can have not only in technical seminars, you can have it in your own courses. When you give projects in the seminars, when they're presenting it, you can make sure that you have a structure like this. It need not necessarily be for technical seminars separately as a subject, but it can be included in any subject seminar that a teacher includes in the course. So this is something that I wanted to say. That is very important that we improve the articulative skills of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.